minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If you are up against the circumstances that require some legal assistance, then we recommend you go to an attorney. And we have an attorney right here, right now. Her name is Vanessa Lane Jennings. She is the founder of the Jennings Law Firm right here in Ocala. And you can go down to the Jennings Law Firm and sit across the desk from Vanessa and ask all of your legal questions, and she will answer them. But this is an opportunity that Vanessa gives you each week to call into a radio show and get your the same questions answered. The difference is... you're public. We all will learn from your questions and Vanessa's answers. And the advice is to call in early because sometimes legal questions require lengthy answers. So it's a good idea to call early. The number right now is 622-9622. And the number over at the Jennings Law Firm is 804-0092. We will repeat that and the address later on. Good morning, Vanessa.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
We've already been taxing your brain this morning.
I know. I walked into questions.
Kelly had a question for you.
She did.
Yeah. So her question was about copyrights, it sounds like. And can you tell me about that? There's a local thing you can do?
Well, it's not local. It's...
what do you call common law or something?
Common law, yes. Hold on 2 seconds. I was finishing my Snapchat story. I was a little slow on the uptake.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry because I'm being rude and disrespectful. It happens, so. So what Kelly and I were talking about is there a mechanism if you don't have a copyright or a trademark on something? Is there another mechanism behind that can follow up? So you didn't go to the federal route and go and get it actually done that way. So what do you do if you're a local business or local business owner and someone's infringing on what you believe to be your domain?
Your original idea,
right?
Associated with your business.
Correct.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you have at your disposal is you have common law rights in the state of Florida, that if you haven't triggered your federal rights, you can fall back on your common law state rights. And then there's avenues that way. But I always say, go see a patent attorney, go see a trademark attorney, go see...
Okay.
Because I know the law, but I don't do, like, if you're really going to go into someone's infringing on your business where they're using the same name and likeness of your business,
right.
That those are whole different spectrums.
So does that apply to establishing a business too? Our friend Frank wants to start an LLC. Does he not go to you? Are you not the choice for that?
Well, no. If he wants to come and start an LLC, that's something that we do.
Oh, that is something you do. Okay.
That's completely different than upholding someone's rights to their name.
I gotcha. Okay.
So if you're establishing and you're starting and you're going through the state of Florida and you're filling out the paperwork, we could help you do that.
So what if you didn't have a filed trademark? Robin and I are an example. We have been Robin and the Giants since 1986. Very long time ago. We've released records with those names and we've done shows, everything. But we don't have anything filed anywhere. Two other people could take our name, right? Or wrong?
Well, and that's where what Kelly and I were talking about. That's where the common law comes in, because even though you didn't exercise it through the federal mechanism, because that's all federal.
Right.
If you didn't do it that way, you didn't file for it, you didn't apply for it. You still have common law rights to your name because you're out there, you're using it. People know who you are. You've published things with that information on it, and because of that, you do have rights.
Well, that's nice to hear.
But if a song, let me ask you this. If a song is copyrighted with the national whatever,
okay,
and it's done by Robin and the Giant, does that protect our name or no? Do we have to actually do a trademark thing?
Okay, so you're stepping outside of my expertise.
Oh, sorry.
Because there are people, you actually go to an extra couple years of law school.
Okay.
For this fun stuff.
It's amazing.
To do your patents
what
and
you
your
have to know.
trademarks.
So many things. Wow. All right, we don't want to monopolize the time. We want your questions out there. If you have a question for Vanessa, we invite your call. The number is 622-9622. We had a call this morning from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we did.
So if you're out there listening and you're not in the area code, you need to know that. It's 352. So 352-622-9622. Vanessa is here to answer your legal questions. Do you have a lot of property rights questions? Things, right of way, people need to put a driveway in and somebody's stopping them, that kind of thing?
No.
Because there was a couple of those in the news this week.
I've had a couple people, maybe throughout the 6 years that I've been in town, ask those questions, but for the most part,
Yeah.
I honestly get a lot of criminal, a lot of family law, and then a lot of, it's just civil law. Like, you can't define it by anything, because it's just, if I did this, what are my consequences?
If somebody has broken the law and that person is somebody you love, and now they're going to jail, and this is not something I know.
Bye, Dad.
I'm making this up. No. And you think that psychological help would help?
Okay.
Can you ask the judge, even though there's going to be a penal portion of the sentence, could the sentence also include like mandated counseling, that kind of thing?
Well, 100% yes.
All the time?
No. But
Okay.
100% yes, it can. So there's certain things that require you to go to take classes, or I don't want to call them mental health classes because it's not necessarily what they are, but you have to, let's say in a domestic violence case, it is statutorily required that you go to the batter's intervention program. And if you were, depending on what your relationship was with the person, depends on how long it's a 26-week program for that program. But that's if you were like a husband-wife situation. But if it's like brother-sister or brother-brother, then that's an anger management course, and that's a 10-week course. And those are mandated by statute. The prosecutor doesn't have a choice. There's no leeway. You have to take those programs.
Really?
So
do you have to do well in them? Do you have to pass the test?
You just have to pass the course.
Wow.
So, but the passing the course isn't there. I don't think there's a test at the end. Actually, I'm pretty sure there is not a test at the end. But you just have to go to every single class. You have to listen. You have to participate. So that's your requirement there. Now, there's conversely a lot of jurisdictions have mental health court. When I was in Miami, that was one of the courts that as a prosecutor, that I was assigned to. So I was assigned to, I did domestic violence, but the mental health portion of domestic violence at times. And that, if you are doing your job properly, not the attorney, but the person, you're going to all your classes and you're doing everything, they'll drop your charges if it's one of your first offenses or a second offense.
Oh, really?
So there are mental health components, and sometimes in mental health court, the requirements of what you're doing are completely different than actual probation. You're technically on probation, but part of your probation is to take your medications and your medicines, and to do everything that go to private therapy, to go to group sessions. And if you do all those steps, then there's an incentive of having your charges dropped. Other times your charges aren't dropped, they still stay on your record, but what you had to do is completely different than what someone who wasn't in mental health court would do.
So does the victim have to express their desire to the prosecutor? Does the victim have to say that they want him or her to push for the mental health courses, drug rehabilitation, things like that? Or does the prosecutor automatically do that?
Well, the prosecutor's not going to know unless someone tells them.
Oh,
so
okay.
the person who normally tells them, honestly, is the defense attorney. And if it's a domestic violence situation, there is a good chance that the victim actually goes into the defense attorney's office and says, hey, this is what happened. Was I hit? Was I pushed? Was whatever happened? Maybe. But what the bigger issue is my son has, bipolar disorder. I don't know. I'm just not trying to label people, but
right.
But that's the situation. He wasn't on medication. Had he been on medication, this never would happen. He needs to know it's serious. So what can we do to get him on the right track? And in that situation, getting him on the right track might be putting him into a different type of program, if that jurisdiction has it. If it doesn't have like a mental health court, so things get dropped, you still go to the prosecutor and you would say, hey, this is the reason this happened. So what can we do so this doesn't happen again? Because that's the whole, and sometimes I wrote a letter last week that was basically saying the same exact things to a prosecutor. This is the whole point of our system, is to rehabilitate these people. If you just put this particular client in jail, you are creating a cycle. This is actually what this client needs. And I found mine was a drug rehab program that is you can't leave. You're there. You're not allowed to leave. But because it's a closed door DOC run by the Department of Corrections, but it's a good program. And so you fight for your client that way. So
are you familiar with the story out of the Bronx in New York where the person who killed the police officer was let out early? It was supposed to be serving 20 years, but I think served 9 or something like that. So they let him out early. And now they're talking about stopping the early release. And I'm thinking, wow, one bad apple spoiled the whole bunch. I mean, there might be some people who really do deserve to have a second chance instead of waiting 20 years. But in this case, this guy killed somebody. Now they're all talking, I guess it's a New York thing, but
Yeah.
they're all, I mean, I don't know what to think about it. There's a philosophy there that needs to be discussed, and I don't know how I feel about it.
And I think a lot of the early release portion has absolutely nothing to do with the person themselves. Like in the state of Florida, I believe there's an average of 85% of time. People have to do 85% of their time. But after that, they get gain time. So it's once your gain time catches up and you have enough, you can go on out the door.
Really? And you earn time, you mean, if you do good things?
Well, sometimes it's not
something?
even, sometimes it's doing good things, sometimes it's just being present. You can get game time. It depends if you're in county or if you're in Department of Corrections, because they run differently. But let's take Marion County, for example. Marion County, if you're a trustee, which means those are the people that you sometimes see on the side of the roads doing work, but they also have trustees who never leave the jail, who are in the jail doing job. They're in the kitchen, they're doing laundry, they're doing the things that make the jail run. They get extra days for every 30 days they do. I believe they get 6 days is what I believe it is. But there's extra days that they get, and it just adds on. So if they had to do 200 days for every amount of gain time they have, those extra days come off that 200.
So the people, when they're up for release, then there really isn't a psychiatrist or something that goes in there and says, okay, this person is fit to get out. Because if there was one there for this person that shot that police officer, he would never have been released then.
See, and I think that has a lot to do sometimes with parole, like whether or not they're released on parole and things. And Florida we don't use that mechanism. We have different mechanisms here. And the way that they do ours is we do gain time. So there's not necessarily a way to counterbalance that here. But I think they're supposed to have therapists and all that. I don't know because I'm not in New York and haven't done New York law.
I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm telling it to you so that I can ask a question. The story is this, and maybe I've shared this with you before or not. I had a niece. She was 18 years old. She was killed by a hit-and-run driver on State Road 200.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
Yeah, I had 2 children.
Had 2
tiny
children,
babies.
2 beautiful girls. They're still with us, of course. And my brother, her father and mother, have been raising these 2 girls. So my brother and his wife actually worked with State Senators Larry Creedle to change the statute of limitations for punishment against a hit-and-run driver.
Okay.
So if they had caught the guy who had hit and killed my niece, Stephanie, if they had caught that guy, they could have still taken him to court up till 3 years, I think it was. But they worked with Larry Creedle to change that law. So I don't know what the statute of limitations is now. If you hit and kill somebody and they find you 10 years later, can you still go to jail? So but the question is actually not about that. It's about the Bill Cosby case.
Okay.
Because in Bill Cosby's case, he's got ladies who are saying he gave them drugs and then had sex with them against their will, right? Am I saying
like
it right?
50 years ago.
Is that how long ago it was?
Yeah, decades.
So why are some of them able to take him to court and others not? I don't understand the statute of limitations in any of them. They should, I don't know. What do you think?
Okay, so there's broad spectrum. So let's just start with, for the people who don't know what statute of limitations is.
Maybe I don't know what it is.
For every crime, for every offense that you believe that was done to you, if you think someone violated a law and it affected you, whether they breached a contract, which is non-criminal, so that's a civil issue, or whether they punched you in your face, there's a certain period of time where you can bring that particular crime to light. Okay, and that's called the statute of limitations.
Okay.
So, and the reason why they limit it in scope is because there's certain things that happen that you're gonna, I don't want to say lose time, and you lose evidence. People's memories fade.
Sure.
Things get distorted. Evidence can be lost. But also, there's a period of time where if if you breach a contract, you don't want to breach a contract in 1999 and get sued for it in 2019. Because so much time has gone. You weren't given the ability to cure it. You weren't given, so many things could have happened in the middle. Is that even the right way to do it? And the law kind of says, no, it's not. We're going to limit it. You're limited to this period of time. Now, that's clouded because there's other laws around that, because it's, that's how the world works. There's other things around it. Sometimes it's the discovery rule applies. And what that is that saying, okay, the statute of limitations doesn't start until either the defect was discovered or something was discovered. A lot of those happen in medical malpractice cases.
Okay.
And it's not, you can't necessarily use the discovery rule in all cases. They apply to very specific circumstances. But there's certain circumstances where something is a latent defect, so something that you couldn't know that was defective, you couldn't see it, it was defective, something was done wrong, but there was no way for you to know about it. So until you discover it, your statute of limitations doesn't start, but you're still bound to those statute of limitations. When it comes to sexual assaults, there's different statute of limitations depending on age in the state of Florida. If you're under the age of 18, you're given a greater period of time than if you're over the age of 18. And the reason they do that is because children are normally coerced to not to tell. They're made to fear not only the person who's doing it, but the act of actually disclosing it. So they give them extra periods of time to go forward and reveal that information.
Yeah. How old was that, Robin? Yesterday we had a guest on. She was up in Harlem, and her brother molested her when she was 7.
Yeah, she was 7, and the brother was like 17.
And now she's a grandma, so I don't know how old she is, but put it this way, I said to her, can't you still take him to court? And she said, no, the statute of limitations ran out in the state of New York. So it's just crazy. I mean, it happened to her. She was threatened if she said anything, so she never said anything.
Right.
And now, but she wrote a book about it, so... That's one way to get back, I guess.
That is one way to get back, yes.
So maybe when something happens, maybe after the, commotion dies down, you file the police report and everything, maybe it's good for you just to set up your camera, your video camera, and sit in front of it and just recount the story how you feel, and then that way you've got it archived for if something happens, and it's got to go longer than what you think a memory can last.
Well, no, because that still won't count, because you're still, no matter what, you have to deal with the statute of limitations, right?
Oh.
And that video isn't going to necessarily be admissible in court anyway.
Oh.
Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm going to go with more likely no.
Yeah.
And because of that, the best thing to do is to preserve that, is to go and tell the police officers, to tell people that something happened, because then you've told someone who can do something about it, and they can start the process, do the investigation, talk to witnesses, start building a case.
Oh,
and
okay.
Building your case is going to be your best bet. But until they actually find the person, the statute of limitations still ticking in those type of cases. But like certain cases, like murder, has no statute of limitations. If you murder someone today and they don't discover for 75 years, and you're still alive 75 years from now and you're the murderer, they can arrest you.
Oh, well, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That's a really good thing. Good news for that.
We do have a phone call. Before we go to the call, I just want to give out your number, because when it's this close to the end, I know that it's going to be impossible for you to answer many questions, not all, but many. Call Vanessa if you need to speak with Vanessa in person or on the phone privately. The number is I'm going to say it right, Vanessa?
352.
Thank you.
804-0092.
And Vanessa's address at the Jennings Law Firm is 2945 Northeast 3rd Street on the 2nd floor, and you just call us if you need any of that repeated. Now let me go to the phone. Thank you for calling and for waiting. You're on the air with Vanessa Lane Jennings.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Vanessa, if you do a crime in the state of Florida, and let's say that you're a person that's from, like, let's say Wisconsin or Indiana or whatever, and you've got you've got a prison sentence, and you've got family and children and family and wife up in a different state, can you somehow, like through the judge or somehow, have your prison time done in the state where it's closer to your family?
I'm going to say that unless it's a very bizarre set of facts and circumstances, and we're not dealing with a federal issue. If you're dealing with a federal issue, even though you committed the federal crime in the state of Florida, you can go to federal prison anywhere, and you could always petition for those reasons to be closer to where family is. But if you commit a crime in the state of Florida, you're normally in the state of Florida in our prison system, and they own you until you're done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You were able to squeeze that in somehow in a little bit of time.
Sometimes I can answer fastly.
And that was
Sometimes I can't.
Wesley Snipes' thing when he was tried here in Ocala a few years ago. He felt he wouldn't get a fair trial here, but they didn't put him anywhere else. They kept him here.
Well, that's a little bit different because that's moving the trial.
Oh,
Because that's different than where you're going to be, where you're actually going to do your time. You can independently, you could be a Florida resident in the state of Florida and still ask for your case to be tried in a different jurisdiction for the period, or for the fact that you're never going to get a fair trial here. And, that's normally when something happens that's big in the town. Like, it happens to someone who's notorious in the town or well-known. They don't think that the local people will be able, they either know too much about the case or there's just too much going on that it'll cause too much of a ruckus that you would move it. But at that point in time, your judge is still your judge, and your judge, literally, the judge and the clerk and the prosecutor and the defense attorney, they all kind of move to wherever city they do it in.
okay.
So you're stuck with your judges and all those people, so it doesn't get you out of that. But you're just, the area you're in, your pool of people who are listening is just different.
Oh, okay.
So today is National Take Your Dog on a Road Trip Day.
Yes.
Do you have a dog?
I do not.
You don't?
I do not.
You don't want a dog?
I do not.
I don't either anymore. Robin's going to be babysitting her daughter's dog, though, so.
Yep.
I have nothing against dogs, to put that out there. I just have an animal. I have a cat, and
you do?
She does not like other animals. She barely likes humans, so
So you're lucky then.
All right, we have a call at the last minute here. Good morning. You're on the air with Vanessa.
Yes, my college roommate is a patent and trademark lawyer. I've emailed his email to you.
All right.
Just wanted to let you know. Have a good day.
All right,
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing that. So one animal story real quick from this morning's news. a little girl loses her hamster, gets out of the cage.
Okay.
They find the hamster underneath the refrigerator. She puts the hamster back in the cage, and he just stays there. He doesn't move. He doesn't eat. She's very concerned about him, but she can tell he's alive. So she brings, this is not a joke.
For 3 days.
She's looking at Robin like it's a joke.
No, it's
so
true.
she brings
For
the
3
cage.
days.
That was Robin. Where is this going?
She brings the hamster to the vet. The vet looks at in the cage at the hamster. Yeah, you're right. He's not moving. Let me see. So the guy takes it out and discovers a refrigerator magnet in the hamster's mouth. Takes the magnet out, and the hamster starts to eat and is fine. Is moving his little whiskers. In other words, the hamster was stuck to the cage
Yeah, with a magnet.
by the
in his
magnet
cheek.
in the little hamster mouth.
Oh, the poor little hamster.
Just thought you'd enjoy
thing.
a non-legal story. Nobody had to get sued for that one.
No.
I mean, we can
It was
try
a
to sue
happy ending
people.
for the
You
hamster.
could. The refrigerator magnet people.
It was a happy ending for the hamster.
Or the person who dropped the magnet in one of the refrigerator.
Oh, that's right. Exactly.
That's who I would go after. That's the person who did it.
I love that.
Too
You're
funny.
so good.
All right, if you need an attorney, you need to call or show up and go to the Jennings Law Firm is our recommendation. Vanessa is your lady, and the Jennings Law Firm is at 2945 Northeast 3rd Street, 2nd floor. The phone number 352-804-0092. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, guys.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
I've been discussing various things on